What up, what up? Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Ingval with my guys, Rohit and Mike. To talk some kicks.
What up,
what is good, fellas?
Yo,
how you guys doing?
You know what? I'm all good, aside from Houston, Texas, trying to take out my Subaru. But other than that, I'm good, man.
Well, what's going on, man? Like a Subaru, that's the Oregon State car. What are you doing down in Texas with that?
Yeah, you know, just trying to keep the family safe. You know, that's how we ride. But you know, people in Houston is like you just mind your business. They like to drop stuff off their trucks. They like to get hooked up in the bottom of your car and tear up your radiator. So that's the life I'm living right now. But you know what? All's good because it was taken care of. You know, it's at the shop. Got the rental, so it's all good. It's irritating at the moment. Car problems are just irritating when they happen.
Yes, they are. But if this is the worst thing that happens to you this year, Mike, you got a good year ahead of you.
Exactly. That's what I was like. I can't complain. It's just one of those momentary just glitches in the day.
Yep.
Nick,
how about you? What's going on in your neck of the woods? Oh, I'm great. I'm just going to ask you about yours. Now, it's yet another beautiful sunny day here in Portland, Oregon. My folks are in town. They actually drove up from Missouri to Oregon because that's a drive they've always wanted to do since I moved out here. So nice. I was happy to get them to cross that off the bucket list. So that's been pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I've done similar drives. I definitely drove Oregon to Colorado a couple times, California to Colorado a couple times. Detroit to California a couple times. So
wow.
I love that though. That's like the best. I can't wait till I can go on another road trip. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I got my second shot. I'm 12 days away from my superpower, which I was telling Rohit before we started recording. I decided that my superpower would be communicating with all animals on the planet. That's what I want. I want to be able to communicate with every animal on the planet. So I'll toss that to you guys since, you know, what would your superpower be?
You know what? In the vein of talking to things, I think I want to talk to technology because I hate when crap breaks down on me. I want to know why. Like little technopath. Like, let me understand why you don't want to work for me today, Mac. Holla at your boy.
I like that because I always felt that was the greatest X-Men story that never was written, where it's like mutants that have everyday powers. Like my power would be I should be able to identify and figure out where every lost thing in the world is. Because I lose a lot of things, and it would be just one of those things where we're like, hey man, where did I put that like home Darko Milicic jersey I referenced like 15 episodes ago? Oh, it's behind that? And then it's like, okay, I can just walk over there and get it. From a more traditional superhero power perspective, I like the ability to slow things down because I think we've kind of always gotten caught up in the hype of like the Flash or these other quick superheroes. Mm-hmm. But I just like the fact that let me just slow everything else around me so I look fast in comparison.
Okay. I like that.
So is that like the Zack Morris timeout superhero power?
Hey!
Exactly. It's exactly that. Zack Morris, the... hidden Marvel superhero.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I never thought about that. Time out.
He only did like that was the thing that bugged me. Where I was like, okay, there's like a 6-episode stretch where they're like, this is a thing. We're gonna do this once an episode, and then they just like dropped it because I'm like, okay, there's a lot of other scenarios in your scholastic career, Mr. Morris, where that timeout could have been very beneficial.
Yep.
He lost his powers, man. He got drained. He did it too many times.
You got Kapowski. Yep. That's that Kelly Kapowski.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I was gonna say too, like Rohit, you're kind of normal everyday superpower, which I love that idea of having like normal everyday things. But the problem with that superpower is that Apple's about to replace you with Apple tags now, right? Like eventually those will just be in everything from the get-go, and we'll be able to find every single thing.
We're balling on a budget, right? Like because
Rohit need batteries. Rohit, I don't run on batteries. I just need food. He good.
Nah, Apple, like we're balling. I'm the balling on a budget option because if it's Apple, that means I have to pay $300 just to get in the game, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I'd just be like, okay, where's the TV remote? Oh, it's between the couches again. Okay, great, I'll do that.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm gonna call them all the time. Rohit, I need to find this.
Yeah,
Where is it?
Like, you can do no wrong. Like, there is a lot of power in this. But anyway, we'll save this for the Sneaker History Patreon episode of superpowers we want to discuss and own.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, what are you guys rocking and what are you guys copping this week?
Yeah, man. I finished our trifecta of baby showers this weekend with the Jordan 1 CLJP in a neutral gray. I was like, you know what? Something clean, something I could get away with a party my mother's throwing wearing sneakers, so I was able to get away with it. So I think it passed the test. It was okay. And what I'm copping, only thing I can really think of I really want to cop right now is probably that Viotech LeBron 18 still on my radar. I think it's releasing on sneakers on the 4th. And then the still at Human Made Forum. That one I showed you, Nick.
Yep.
Still on my list of things. I see it kind of trickling around now in different stores. They haven't advertised it at all for some reason, but it's such a super sick shoe with that Boost midsole. So that's on my list. What about you, Rohit?
For me, because my dad didn't believe the fact that Allen Iverson and James Harden had a shoe together, I wore my question mids, Iversons and Hardens. So then I also played him that clip from our year-end episode, so he got to hear my thoughts about strippers and that's that particular shoe, what the relationship is between the two. And as for what I'm copping, did you guys see like the 4-pack of these Griffies that are coming out? The new the Nike Air Griffey Max 1 that's got like the gold swoosh on it. That looks pretty delightful. The sweetest swing is what it's called.
Yeah, it's a couple like in an Air Max as well. What else is this? 4 shoes is like
Air Force One maybe was one of them.
There's an Air Force One that has juniors. Nice. Yep, a Vapor Max and an Air Max 90.
There it is. Yeah, but the Air Force One has baseball stitching on the heel, like the red laces. I'm like, all right, you kind of got me on those.
Yep.
That's the thing. I'm not a baseball guy, but I will always ride or die for Ken Griffey Jr. for whatever reason, and I think that's something that Nick and I were kind of having this discussion about how in sports today you need to know the characters behind your favorite sport. If for no other reason, it gives you an added reason to love said sport. And I just don't know who has been as cool in that realm as Ken Griffey, because to me that's the gold standard, because he could make non-baseball people care about him. And maybe it was the fact that it was the cosigns, if you will. Like, I think he had the Gatorade cosign, he was Nike cosign, hell, even the Buzz Beamer Sports Illustrated for Kids cosign. Like, Griffey was untouchable.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the I would say undisputed kind of faces of a sport, right? Like, there's definitely ways, where you could argue that a particular player kind of carried a sport for a few years here and there. But in terms of like sneakers, Griffey is like the quintessential like bar, right? Like, this is how you're trying to get people drawn in, especially from a younger crowd. It was just like he just had everybody where
he was pop culture.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Just man. But so I broke out something I know Mike at least has or had at one point. The Pump Fury Boost. I just think these are. I mean, the Pump Fury is one of my favorite shoes of all time, and then to throw Boost cushioning, it's a no-brainer. Makes it that much more comfortable. So
underrated.
Wore those today. Highly recommended. I mean, it's just a good. If you're curious about a Pump Fury, that's a good one because they're probably not too expensive and they're really comfortable compared to like the original, Pump Fury. As far as what I'm copping, I mean, I like the Griffey Air Max 90 is probably my favorite out of that bunch. The P-Rod, the P-Rod is really, really dope to me.
Yes, it is.
I think that's. I mean, it's not something that I think I will actually have a chance at getting, but I definitely think it's super dope. But
damn it, Nick! I want this shoe now too. When's
the release? I haven't seen anything about the release date.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about a release date. I just saw that it was coming.
Just 2021 is all it says.
Yeah.
Well, I keep my eye out for it because I wanted to. And maybe start looking up old P-Rods. I'm like, stop, don't do this to yourself. Bring it really back in.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out that I want to get. I mean, I keep seeing all these Huarache colorways. I haven't had a pair of Huaraches in a long time, so I'll eventually get a pair of those. But I don't know if they break the top of the list quite yet. But
they're comfy, man. Like, I don't know if they've restructured them or something, but I can wear them all day.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a good time. It's summertime. Oh, you know what? I got to shout this one out because I'm pretty sure Travis from the Discord, those free run Trail 5.0s, I don't know if it's Travis or if it's somebody else that posted them, but I feel like that's a Travis. That's like a Travis / Dalton shoe. If you're in the Discord, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But that one's kind of interesting to see come back. Anytime Nike brings back a shoe that is like not an expected retro, I just like it because it's like, oh, they're actually doing something a little bit different, thinking a little outside the box. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, do we have a review to read, Rohit?
We do. We have a review on a forum and a medium that we don't necessarily give proper props to, but hey, if it allows us to leave a review for us, I tell our listeners, please write a review here. So this one is from another member of our Discord, arguably the fifth Beatle, if you will, to our crew, Greg Taylor, the greatest podcast of all time. If you're a fan of burritos, secret pizza places, M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, hot tamales, San Antonio Spurs, Mike, I'm looking at you. Size 8 fitted hats, the Golden Girls, Peloton, what up, Robbie, and the MCU, and the aforementioned Robbie taking his shirt off on camera, then this is the podcast for you. Sometimes I even talk about sneakers. Thank you, Nick, Mike, Robbie, and Rohit for over 200 episodes of Pure Bliss. Shout out to the Discord fam. Sincerely, the people's champ, a.k.a. Mr. Eyebrows himself, Greg Taylor. Thank you so much.
My man.
The Brahma Bowl. Now, it's just one of these things, once again, where I will turn into your, what is it? We call it OPEB, but any NPR affiliate, please write us a review. It helps us out. If there's any sort of incitement that I can do, would you like this cat that's on my lap? It could be yours if you write 12 reviews for us. I'm kidding, Billy. I would never give you away. But thank you again, as always, Greg, and to all our listeners, because as we'll say one more time, like, you guys keep us sane, you guys keep us healthy, you keep us happy, and that's why we want to deliver for you.
Yes. Ain't that the truth?
Definitely. So today's topic is I guess potentially a little triggering. So I'm gonna. It came in just hot fire into our text chain today about 4 or 5 hours ago, and it came from Mike. So I'm just gonna step out of the way and let Mike have the platform right now.
Got it. Yeah. I got it. So I mean, triggering is probably the best word for it, because I have these moments of initial anger when I see things that are just really dumb and just, I think, really egregious. That may be the strong. I get my Stephen A. Smith on, use egregious for a while. And it is the Nike Go FlyEase. It's the most recent shoe that they've come out with to help those who can't, wear a shoe normally or can't put on a shoe normally. Maybe they don't have the dexterity in their hands to tie a shoe, or maybe they just don't have the ability to do so because of some, whatever illness or disability they may have, and they decide, hey, let's make a shoe for them, which we've seen this happen a few times before. We've gotten the FlyEase Jordan 1. We've gotten the FlyEase Air Max 90. I want to say there was even a FlyEase version of the Vapor Max, but I could be wrong.
LeBron's,
we got the LeBrons were actually first. So the LeBrons were actually first, and they released a shoe. It's been talked about, I feel like, for almost a better part of a year. They finally began releasing the shoe, and it is super limited apparently. And you guys kind of figure out where this is going. You look on StockX, you look on Go, you look on any third-party resale site. The shoe, retails for $120, if I'm not mistaken. It is selling for an average of like $750 to $800, and I just don't get it. And again, it's not necessarily. I don't know who to be mad at. I can't be mad at Nike for maybe not thinking, hey, we're not going to make a ton of these because maybe there's not a ton of, market for them. But at the same time, why would you put them on sneakers or, for people to buy them in the most quote unquote hyped setting where it's just a jacked up atmosphere? And the people who are putting these on GOAT and StockX for $800, your mama raised you terrible. There, I said it. Your family raised you awful, because there you should feel some kind of way about yourself for trying to sell something that's supposed to help someone. Like the dude who, like someone, the male, female who can't put their shoe on wants to put a pair of Nikes on. They're sick of wearing the, prescribed sneakers. They want to look fresh, but now you make them pay a premium for it. Go slap yourself, because that's stupid.
To paraphrase Stephen A. Smith, they are horrible people, and no, it's absurd. And I think it's one of those things where our little powwow that we have before every episode, I think all three of us came to this conclusion of these are great sneakers, but I think intensively none of us are ever going to try for them unless, let's say, there is truly a surplus. Because to Mike's point, all our mamas raised us very nicely, and I don't want to take this sneaker away from somebody that could actually use it and isn't trying to flex on you or trying to raise money. Now, I will say this, maybe I'm looking at it from an eternal optimistic perspective, but if you are a reseller and you are putting these on GOAT, if you're putting them on StockX, if you're putting them wherever, that's fine. You better donate those proceeds to some sort of charity benefiting that, because that is the only way I could justify doing something that heinous. And I will say heinous and I will say egregious like Mike, because what else can you do? Why are you trying to benefit off this? And maybe this makes us sound condescending and ableist, and that's not our extent or our intent. But at the same time, like, this is not a shoe that's meant for general public. This is meant for people that want that sneakerhead feeling that we get a little bit too easily, and maybe we've taken it for granted. So anyway, that's the end of my rant as well. Hopefully it was halfway as articulate as what Mike was saying. Nick, please be the voice of reason, because I think all three of us are angry.
I mean, honestly, I can't really, because it is one of those things where, like my mom has rheumatoid arthritis and has dealt with issues with her hands and doesn't have full use of her fingers, and tying her shoes is painful, sometimes impossible. And she's one of those people that, I don't know that she's, interested in this yet. But I showed it to her, when it originally came out or whatever. And I think it would be nice, and I would have loved to have gotten her a pair, but I kind of knew they were going to be super hard to get anyway. I didn't put any effort in, didn't see them in my app even. But I think that it's just ridiculous, because it's, we're in this weird time outside of sneakers too, where people are just reselling everything. And I'd like to think that people are better than what they are, but I also don't think that it's like the reality is most people are just after money, and it's unfortunate. Part of my frustration with this whole thing is there's no clarity either. I think that Nike could come out and say, "Hey, we're going to make a ton of these," and it might help a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I just think that we're in this I don't want to be a downer, but it's a shitty time for the reseller aspect of what's going on. And that's not a knock on people who do that kind of thing for a living, or to add some extra, money to the pot for themselves or for their families. I don't have any problem with that. I have a problem with this specifically because, as you guys said, we wouldn't go out and buy this shoe when it first comes out just because it's not intended for us. It's intended for people who have disabilities of some sort. It's intended for people who can benefit from this kind of new creative technology that's allowing them to put shoes on without using their hands. And to think that if I'm able to have that thought as a consumer, I would hope that you as a reseller would be able to have that thought and say, you know what, this few $100, this few $1,000 is not worth it, because there's people out there that just need it more than I do right now. Yep. And I don't expect people to have that approach all the time, I think that it's fine that you resell shoes. Like, I think that it's just a part of life right now. It's not even shoes, right? It's graphics
Everything.
cards, it's printers, it's webcams, it's like, ammunition. Like, everything is being resold right now because of the supply and demand problems and supply chain issues that are going on in the world, but also because we had this global pandemic and shit hit the fan, and now like everybody's like, hey, I got to do something else. I would like to, it makes me feel better to assume that, let's say 50% of the people reselling stuff right now are just doing it because, hey, they lost their jobs and they needed to make some money. Just give them the benefit of the doubt, right?
For sure.
But still, with all that said, this is not where you get the benefit of the doubt. When it's somebody that needs this, like, think about, like, everyone has somebody in their family or their circle of friends that they know, or at least, like, God, think about Kevin Bacon and the 6 steps that it takes to get you to somebody that needs this shoe, that can't tie their shoes, that this would just make their life incredibly simple compared to what they deal with right now. And ask yourself if it's worth $500, $600, like, to take that away from someone, because that's where I hope people can think about this thing. And I'm sure that, we have people that resell that listen to us. I'm sure that we have people that, fall on the other side that are never reselling. And I think it's great that we have sneakers with all of these interesting facets of what sneakers have become. I'm just really disappointed that, something like this where, it just could have been something that made the world a much better place for so many people who already have a tougher time than most of us. And to be able to, it's like, I want to give Nike props for making these shoes, but then that also takes away this experience and seeing all this frustration, the prices and everybody talking about it takes away from, just us as the sneaker community celebrating something good happening, because now it's been washed away with, profits. And that's super disappointing. And I guess I'll say, like, to reiterate, I think it would be awesome if with situations like this where Nike could come out and say, look, this clearly is the first shoe of the FlyEase line that I think everyone went, wow, like, those will be my slip-ons. Those will be my house shoes. Those will be my default, like, leave them at the front door. They had to have known that was the response to this shoe. And if they did, then they could have come out and said, hey, we're going to produce a ton of these and make them available everywhere. And, and I get that, like, maybe that's not feasible for the business. I'm just kind of assuming that it is. But, to not really have much of a communication, I don't know, like, I hate the fact that I'm always picking on Nike, because I feel like inevitably we come right back to this point of, like, hey, you guys are the leaders. You can do better. Like, that's why I don't have that expectation. If, no offense, but if Asics or Reebok or New Balance or Adidas even came out with this shoe and the same experience happened, I wouldn't have near the expectation for them to right the situation in any way they could, or deal with the situation maybe a little bit more than you deal with just creating a product and selling a product, because Nike positions themselves as, this for the people, supporting the change, supporting all these initiatives. And then this stuff happens and you're like, do they? And I hate that, because I want to just be a fan of the brand. I want to, I want to just love everything that comes out, because it's so easy for me to be like, yo, Hirachis, I want a pair. Griffey's, I want a pair. Like, I mean, there's just countless stuff that comes out where I just get excited because of the memories, and not to mention, like, all the technology stuff, right? Where we talk about the greater than stuff, right? The GT stuff on the basketball side. That's shit that just lights me up and makes me want to be a part of sneakers and makes me want to be a part of the footwear industry. And Nike brings that so many times compared to other brands. And then you hit these moments where it's like, damn, just like, come on, like, let's do better as a collective, You know, how can we all do better as a collective and make this something that, like, you know, whether that's a StockX or a GOAT saying, hey, we're not going to actually let these sell, right? The same way they did with Kobe's when Kobe passed, right? Everybody kind of pulled them down or whatever and was like, okay, we're not going to let this get out of hand. Maybe that's what we do with things that are intended for, you know, a community that's kind of been, you know, I don't know, dismissed in a lot of ways in the footwear world.
They shouldn't even take them. I mean, I guess I can't tell someone how to run their business, and I can't tell someone not to make money and profit because they for all the fees, both platforms make a good amount of money off their sellers. But my thing is, like, if we own Sneaker History, consignment shop, or, you know, resale shop and wherever, someone came in with those, like, I'm not taking those. Like, I'm not going to break you off a bunch of money for something that I'll pay you. Oh, cool. You know what? You paid $120. I'll pay you $120 for them, and I'm gonna sell them for $120.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, if anything, I just say no. If you're going to, I will only accept a shoe as a free because I'm going to give it away for free.
There you go.
And it's a question of profit. And I know it's very holier than thou, and I try not to criticize big businesses and little businesses because, frankly, that line of work scares the shit out of me. Because if I was the one that was in charge of a lot of people eating, I don't know how I would handle it. But that being said, I would just like to know, I guess, the reasoning behind, and I'm trying to be as respectful as I am saying this, but I would like to know what was the justification of putting this on sneakers, because that to me is the interesting conversation. Because I think everything that Nike said, or Nike, wow, I'm British all of a sudden, everything that Nick said, everything that Mike said makes sense to me. But it's just one of those things where I would just want to know why sneakers, because to the layman, like I am in this case, that would just seem like Nike is chasing hype off the sneaker. And I don't think that, because their track record speaks for itself when it comes to these magnanimous gestures. It's just a very puzzling time, and I think it does a lot, but most importantly and sadly, it takes away shine from the shoe itself, because this shoe was created for truly the most purest of intentions, which is inclusion, and that's something that Nike prides itself on. If you have a body, you're an athlete. That is their ethos. That is their maxim. That is their rallying cry. That is their everything. And for people to take this shoe and bastardize it, because that's what I think they're doing, it's sad and it's unfortunate. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this should have been one of those shoes that anybody that wants the shoe should have access to it.
Yeah. And I think about putting something on sneakers like that. The Jordan 1 FlyEase, okay, I can kind of see that. They're like, oh, if anything, it would be the hyped product of this FlyEase model. Okay, I can see it. I don't like it, but I can see it. But the people who want this particular shoe, I see it's very functional. It's not that it's an ugly shoe by any means, but it's very functional, very sleek, straight to the point sneaker. And the people who I think would get the best use out of it, guarantee you that 7 out of 10 of them have never been seen sneakers, the app, because that's not what they're thinking about. I mean, me, you, everyone else who's just been in this forever is like, well, we're kind of just forced into looking at this app to go in and, you know, play the game of how much interaction can I put in for the app to actually let me give them my money. But just from that tweet that we saw earlier before we, as we were kind of doing our pre-call, or, you know, before the podcast, is like, how can you justify saying that, hey, the people with the most interactions with the product online, like just things about the product or articles and things came out with it, we want to make sure they got them first? I've heard videos of people, and this is not knocking these people at all, because we've all done it now, because I said on the phone with you guys when they did the Jason Petrie LeBron thing, just say, hey, the more you interact with it, the better chance you have at buying something. Everyone's kind of figured that out. And now that you're saying, hey, yeah, we gave it to people that interacted most, that's the person who's just sitting there just like blindly swiping or blindly letting their phone play, just trying to make sure they can get every release, or, you know, whatever way. I don't know if there's even a bot for that now or whatever it is, but just someone out there doing that. You just got to change the method up for some things. Cool. I understand now, me as an able-bodied person who doesn't have to deal with these extra hardships in life, I may not get the next Jordan 1 that releases. I may not get the next, you know, LeBron or Griffey. I deal with that. I'm upset for 5 seconds because guess what? that was the worst part of my day. Cool. But the person who can't tie their shoe, who's really maybe looking forward to this, maybe as a kid who maybe doesn't have a ton of money and has that particular disability, was looking forward to the shoe because someone, maybe a parent or maybe have a family member who's in the shoes, like, hey, you know, you might enjoy this. This is something they're going to put out that you can enjoy too. You can maybe get to the sneaker thing with me. They couldn't get it now. They had their money in their hand trying to, hey, please take it. I'm trying to get this. And now they're forced to sit and like, all right, now my next option is from 120 to 700. And again, I can't blame it's hard to put a particular like blame on a certain individual or subset of people. Resellers are going to be resellers. Nike's going to do Nike things. You just hope that a common sense and a common courtesy for things that aren't for us. Just, you have to say that it's not for us. I don't care if the Jordan FlyEase is $115 right now, and I'm not going by it because guess what? Someone else may have that money, and who knows if I buy that pair, the next pair goes up to $300. I don't need it. Like, unless I'm going to give it away to somebody, there's no reason for me to purchase that shoe. And understand that Nike sends them out to like the influencers and, you know, people to review them. I actually respect that because they're taking time to put that product out in front of a lot of people. So people like Jock, people like Seth, who actually took time to review the shoe, I respect that because they actually put it out there because they have a lot of viewers, a lot of eyes on their channels. And people are like, oh, why would they send it to somebody who's not, you know, not handicapped? I'm like, well, it is a way to market the shoe to a broader audience. So you can't get mad at people for advertising, but you got to get like, come on, you just got to be better than that. And I guess that's kind of the resounding message from all of us. You just got to be better than that.
Yeah, and just to kind of go back, like, you know, the tweet that we saw was from Jacques Slade Cousteau on Twitter. It said, "Update on the Nike Go FlyEase. The first shipment released this past week. Due to the demand, Nike members that showed the most interest in FlyEase through interactions in the app were the first to get notified. Additional pairs and colorways will be released in the future. Date is to be determined." And I think that, you know, not just to play devil's advocate a little bit, there are plenty of people that could use the Go FlyEase that have disabilities, that those shoes would make their lives easier, that also are into sneakers, right? So like there is, you know, like, it sounds weird, but it's also inclusive to include that in sneakers in a weird way, right? Yeah. It allows people that, you know, that maybe they do feel like they're outside of the sneaker world. And now this is a shoe that's designed specifically for them that is a part of the sneakers app, right? I'm just like playing devil's advocate.
I know what you're saying though. It's inclusive, like, hey, I'm not being looked at as a outsider, but I'm being included into the whole, oh, I'm part of sneaker culture now. I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, but saying that, I think of like the Air Max 90 FlyEase. That shoe's been on Nike.com for a long time. It's discounted now in certain colorways, I think. And it's weird that Nike would switch it up, right? It's weird that they would say, oh, this one goes to sneakers app. This one doesn't deserve to be there, right? Because even if you just look aesthetically and not think about the technology or who it's designed for, the Air Max 90 FlyEase looks like a super on-point design for, like, if somebody just released that shoe and said it was a Sakai shoe or an undercover shoe or some collaboration, you would just be like, yeah, it would sell out, right? But like, it didn't happen that way. It's not. But I just think, wow, like, missed the mark on this completely in terms of like how it was brought to market. And I think that, it's challenging, I'm sure, for Nike or whomever to get products like that into the hands of right people right now, especially. But I think by putting it on sneakers, it definitely hurts the chances of those who need it most.
Yep.
All right.
Dude. At the expense of not sounding like a broken record, I was going to say I think we don't want to talk about this anymore because I think we're just going to get angrier and angrier.
Shaking my camera eventually.
Yeah, where's some clouds that I want to shake and get that.
So let's shift gears and wrap up with some today in sneaker history knowledge. I'll throw this to you, Rohit, because we've got a lot of interesting stuff. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we talked about the P-Rod, the P-Rod. Cinco de Mayo, it's gonna be the shoe is gonna really, like, he's already had Cinco de Mayo releases. Like, why wouldn't this? Never mind. Anyway,
let's not
you want to talk about Baby Jordan?
Baby Jordan, Harold Miner, who, in a sense, and I don't want to say this now that I've got it at the tip of my tongue, would you guys say he was kind of a Linsanity-esque phenomenon way back when? Because for those that didn't know, Harold Miner was a swingman for the Miami Heat, and his claim to fame was that he was, in fact, Baby Jordan, and he won a slam dunk contest and probably some of the most electrifying dunks we'd seen pre-Kobe Bryant in the dunk contest. And we just got to chatting, and we were just all wondering, like, who are some of our favorite one-hit athlete wonders, if you will? Like, guys that were known for one great thing, but unfortunately their career never really panned out other than that one moment. So Harold Miner was one for me from a basketball perspective. Baseball-wise, because I'm trying to dip my toe back into those waters, I was always captivated by Hideo Nomo and his rookie season where he had the very unorthodox, almost tornado-like windup. So that was another one for me. Mike, how about you? Is there any particular athlete that may have caught your eye, even though he didn't last long in the minds of others?
I think probably Jeremy Lin sticks out the most for me because his Linsanity carried him, those few games, carried him to some pretty, to some decent contracts, I think. So when he left New York, he went to the Rockets. He was on our squad for a while. Decent producers just could not get that fire back. I don't know what it was. He had like the game genie on from that time Carmelo was out, and dude was just a phenomenon. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other players. I cannot remember his name, so please forgive me. It was the gentleman who played for the G League Lakers team they called up about 3 seasons ago.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. And he was just balling off a 10-day contract, and I want to say he was a teacher of some kind. Andre something. You guys keep talking. I'll find it.
But yeah, the game they let him, like, he played. He actually went off. I think he scored over 20 points that initial game he played, and he just never. I mean, he looked like I think he was an older guy, like late 30s, but he got to. I love that because not only did he get to live his dream finally, but he actually showed out on a big stage for the probably most talked about team ever. And he can go home happy. I mean, if he never plays a double day in the NBA, he can say, I played for the Lakers. I dropped 20-plus points in the game. So it's probably one of my favorite one-hit wonders.
His name is Andre Ingram, and he had spent 10 years in the G League. So good for him. And I think we all have that memory of, like, Chris Paul sidling up next to him and giving him that moment, because it's very easy for guys that are at that high level to kind of overshadow these unique circumstances. And good for Chris Paul for letting that guy have that moment to himself, because Andre Ingram did something substantial, and you can't really say much more than that. I will go to Nick next, who is a walking, talking sports thesaurus. Nick, who's that?
So I'm gonna follow suit with Mike and go with a Lakers player, but I don't know if this is really a one-hit wonder, but more just like one of my favorite college players with Adam Morrison.
Okay.
That guy carried Gonzaga damn near to a title and literally left it all on the court, like keeled over crying as it all came to an end. I have so much respect for that guy in terms of just playing with so much passion and emotion. Outside of basketball, I don't know, like, if I align with all of the kind of crazy things that were thrown at him as and he was labeled with. But it was like one of those things where I really thought that he would get into the league and actually have some success. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out that way at all. He just didn't amount to anything in the NBA. So
his is a really curious case because I think he almost came 5 to 10 years too early, because I think if we have that type of moment now, I don't think he gets lampooned as he did, because hell, those are probably some of the first athlete memes we all saw was Adam Morrison crying and then hitting him on like the Titanic deck, putting him in Tiananmen Square, putting him right near where that famous picture of the Vietnamese execution is. It's just like, add your favorite thing and put Adam Morrison in. Yep. But yeah, I mean, I think the mental health thing has become, knock on wood, more important. And we are now okay with our young men crying, because at least it shows a passion, to which both of you kind of said. Yep. One other one I was thinking about from a football perspective was Icky Woods, and that's primarily because of the Icky Shuffle, because everybody knows And he was immortalized in the Geico commercial, if I remember. So, I mean, for all the young cats that are listening, we can be like, oh, that's why that guy was popular. So there you go. Icky Woods is another one. I'm trying to think from a basketball perspective. Yeah, I don't know. Like, Darko Milicic could have been one in a sense, because he was the human victory cigar. That's the second Darko Milicic mentioned, so please drink up there if you're playing that drinking game.
Who else?
Yeah, it's tough because I start to go through like maybe, I don't know, maybe like dunk contests and think about, okay, like who are the guys like, I don't know, Desmond Mason.
Desmond Mason, Freddie Jones.
Like a lot of guys that like, I don't even know if they really qualify as like one-hit wonders though, because they were in the league and they were in a dunk contest, right? I will give credit to Harold Miner. Harold Miner played in some of the dopest shoes of that era, right? Played in the Solo Flight, played in the Go LWP, got PE Jordans. I mean, you're doing something right. Right? So,
And remind me, Jordan was out of the league when Baby Jordan had his moment, right? Because I feel that if Jordan's in the league, we're not having... Oh, Jordan was still in the league at that point?
Yeah, he's in the league, yeah. So
Michael's got a keen eye for talent then.
So it's also during Jordan's baseball career. So I think he probably has a couple of games in the early years against Harold Miner. Probably like 93, 92, 93. Harold Miner might have been out of the league by 2000 or so. So I don't know if, they had much, overlap after, MJ's baseball career. But yeah.
So let's see. He won the slam dunk contest twice in 93 and 95. And after the 94-95 season, he was in Cleveland, yada, yada, yada. And his last game was in 1996 against, ironically, the Chicago Bulls, where they lost by 26 points.
Oh. What a way to go out.
That's the stamp of, that's the bookend of a illustrious 4-year, 5-year career, right? Come in, nicknamed Baby Jordan, go out losing to MJ and the Bulls by 26.
Full circle moments.
Yes. Life comes at you
don't want. All right, so we got a couple other things as far as history right now. So by the time you're listening to this, as we said, Harold Miner's birthday, you're also going to have Alonzo Mourning hitting that game-winning shot from just above the free throw line in 1993, falling down, hands up on the floor. I think that's like probably one of my favorites, because that's like the Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson era of the Hornets. That, yeah, man, it's just good. Actually, you mentioned Chris Paul on the bench. Chris Paul's birthday is the 6th, but I think two of the most important sneaker history moments of the week. MJ hits the shot over Craig Elo on May 7th, 1989. I don't think you'd be listening to this podcast if you need any more explanation on that one. So I'll leave it at that. Follow us on Instagram and we'll for sure post that photo. But also in 1995, the last game or in the series against the Orlando Magic, MJ debuted the Air Jordan 11s way before he was supposed to. Had the 45 on the back, I believe.
Tinker said, "What you doing, man? What's up?"
Yep. So we're getting into playoff season typically with basketball. So this is just a good time of the year for history. And since you're tuned into the Sneaker History Podcast, we're just going to share that with you. So
might as well.
But I'll just wrap with that and toss it to you guys. Guys, can you let them know how they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MattWatcher789. You can find me on YouTube at Mike Guillory. And guys, on May 11th, make sure you guys find me because I need those Miami Night LeBron 8 retros. So
okay, I got you,
boy.
You have my shield. And more importantly, you have my friendship on those social media platforms where I'm at Rohisi on Twitter and on Instagram at RohitM13. Nick, any last words before we end for the night?
You can follow me at Nick Ingval on all platforms. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'll be speaking every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern Time with a guest from the podcast previously, Liz Beecroft, and a handful of other people on Clubhouse. If you want to tune in, if you want to hear about how we deal with kind of the stuff that you don't get to hear about normally, because we all go through this stuff, and I just want to try to be as transparent with everybody as possible as somebody who basically lives most of their life publicly on the internet. We all go through it. So tune in if you're interested in any of those conversations, or if you have any questions for me personally, like I said, at Nick Ingval on all the platforms. But otherwise, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
See ya.